Let's discuss a complete mortgage document checklist. Like, what paperwork do you need when trying to buy or refinance a home? So, before we get into this, I want to let you know that we're going to talk generically, but the answer is it depends. And what a video like this isn't going to give you the exact here's what you need. Every loan is going to be different. Every person's different, different credit scores, different down payments, different job histories, different loan programs, different reasons for doing what you're doing, buying, refinancing, etc. All those things will absolutely come into play to determine what paperwork is going to be needed. So, here's what you need to know to get ready for that. So, generically speaking, as I just mentioned, I'm going to go through a generic checklist here that kind of tells you what you need to know, or at least get ready to provide. The way the Mortgage Mark team works, and this is how we've chosen to run our business and what we do. We don't typically ask for paperwork until we've gone through and at least gotten somebody pre-qualified. So there is a difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. Pre-approved has paperwork behind it. We'll put a link somewhere around here. You can go to mortgagemark.com and look up just the apply page, and it'll give you examples of what a pre-approved. You should do that and give us paperwork. But back to the checklist, the reason why we don't ask for it until then is because we don't want you just spinning your wheels. We also don't want to spin our wheels. I don't want to look at paperwork that's not going to be necessary. I don't want my team spending time and money and energy and effort going through all this stuff if we ultimately don't even need it. So some of it's to make sure that we provide excellent and wonderful service, to make sure that we're not having, people waste their time. The other part is we just don't want to waste our time. So that's why we choose not to give a checklist until latter. Now, there might be exceptions where somebody's self-employed or we got to validate income before we go too far down the road, in which case we'll ask for things, but even that won't be the complete mortgage document checklist. That's just going to be the, hey, send me these couple of items so that we can figure out the puzzle pieces before doing a whole bunch of extra work. So here's what you need to know. Okay, you will need these things, right? So I need a driver's license to validate who you are. And if somebody doesn't have a driver's license, then maybe a passport or some form of government ID in that sense. But you're going to need that. You'll ultimately need to get insurance on the home if you don't already have it. So get your insurance contact information to us, right? I'm using company X, and here's the phone number and email to the agent over there working it. In Texas, we'll need a survey. So if you're buying a home, the seller should have one, or we'll get a new one if need be. If you're refinancing, you'll need to have the survey to us. And then, for qualifying for income, I would tell you, generically speaking, if you're a W-2 person, you need the W-2. And people are like, why do you need a W-2 if you got my tax returns? Because we will, we may need tax returns. Well, why do you need it? If the tax return shows that I make 100 grand, why do you need the W-2? Well, W-2s help us determine, is that 100 grand one job that paid you 100 grand, or is it four jobs that paid you, $25,000? So the W-2s help validate where the income comes from. We'll need pay stubs. So it's usually 2 months pay stubs, or pardon me, that's not right. That's inaccurate. Two pay stubs covering a 30-day period. So if somebody gets paid weekly, then I'll want four pay stubs. I want to cover a 30-day period. And if that weekly, by the way, doesn't cover, if it covers 29 days, I'll need one more to cover 30 days, at least 30 days of pay stubs. So I would tell you, typically you need 30 days of pay stubs. You need about 2 months of bank statements. And then again, all the other aforementioned things. And that's kind of the generic get started. From an income standpoint, we would need to see, again, 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2s. If somebody's self-employed, then I'm going to need to see business tax returns for 2 years. Depending on if if there's K-1s involved or partnership forms, things like that. Like those are the things that you're going to have to figure out what's needed. And I would just say, if you're organized, just ask the lender. Hopefully it's the Mortgage Mark team, but ask us what you need and we'll go through that directly. But if you're like, for example, a veteran, for a veteran, we'll need a DD 214. And you're like, well, okay, cool. But if you can't find it, we can help you chase it down. Tax returns. Hey, I lost them in storage, can't find them. We can help you, navigate how to get tax returns or tax transcripts from the IRS. If you're not a U.S. citizen, right? If there's a visa or something like that, where you have to document that. Your HR person or your manager. So we're going to validate in most cases, not all, but most cases, you got to validate, if we are using income from a job, we got to call and validate you still have a job right before closing. So don't quit, don't retire, don't do those things if we're going to use that income. Let's see. pensions, 401ks, if there's any income or assets we need to use. So from an asset, I said 2 months of bank statements. Again, if you get quarterly statements and we're using something from like a 401k or something like that, like anything that's going to help just document what's going on for income and assets. Beyond that, like I said, if you own other real estate, we'll need the mortgage statements. If you own a current home and you're going to buy another before you sell it, again, we got to validate what the payments are. We would do that through a mortgage statement. We would need, again, insurance information on that. If there's leases involved, if you've been divorced and there's, and somebody says, well, that's my personal information. There's a whole bunch of stuff I don't want you to see. I get it, but we got to make sure that there's not some sort of liability connected to that divorce. We would need an executed version of the divorce decree. And you're like, well, that's intrusive. I get it. It is. I'm sorry. But divorce papers, bankruptcy papers, what else? If somebody's going to be signing for you at closing, a power of attorney, stuff like that. So ultimately, we need a lot. And again, it's not easy to say, just give me all this stuff. Because if you got divorced 19 years ago, like it's probably, we won't need the divorce decree more than likely. But if you got divorced 2 years ago and you're paying child support for the next 7 years, we're going to need to validate that through the divorce decree. So again, it depends on the scenario, depends on the person, depending on what you're doing. There's some programs that don't require income. In other words, we don't need to know that you even have a job. So like a DSCR loan, a debt service cover ratio for investment property, I don't want to see income stuff. So it just depends on the program of what you need. The Mortgage Mark team, will make sure we give you a complete mortgage document checklist once we have, an outline and a structure behind what you're doing, so we can give you a specific, customized checklist for you. So I hope that answers any questions you have. As far as getting ready and prepped, pardon me, I would say just do your best to get just organized, but don't do a whole lot of work. Reach out to our team first. We'll be happy to answer any and all questions for you and make sure that you're doing what you should be doing. We appreciate you. And just remember, as always, when you think mortgage, think Mark.